Callum,
Legal
get the over here. Shut the up, sit your ass down.
Legal Beagle. Alright, let's get this over and done with, Alex.
Wipe that smoke off your hose.
Welcome to Legal Beagles. I'm your host, Callum Woods, and I'm joined, as always, by Alex Millman.
And may God have mercy on your soul.
Now, Alex Millman, what are we going to be talking about today?
Well, today we're going to be talking about the perennial topic of swearing in the workplace. Now, of course, this being Australia, that probably comes up more often than it does in other jurisdictions. You can blame the Australian vernacular for that, and thank you, Al from Home and Away, for giving us Stone the Flaming Crows and Ron Weasley for giving us Bloody Hell. I thought I said Alf.
Well,
clearly I don't watch Home and Away. I've got a bit more taste than that. But regardless, this is a topic that comes up before the Fair Work Commission quite a lot, and I, for one, am a bit concerned. Now, Callum, you're aware that I have a vocabulary like an open cesspit. If I was to call you a should I be worried?
Well, I think that's a question that's probably best directed at our employer who's sitting just off camera.
Maybe best directed to her, but for the moment, no questions to the peanut gallery. What are your thoughts?
Look, I think there is a distinction that needs to be drawn depending on the workplace. Context, as always, is king. So we work a lot with the retail and quick service industries, and there might be a different standard than, say, the construction industry, the mining industry. Have you read anything recently that might, say where that standard is?
Well, recently a few things, but I am minded of the comments made by Commissioner Reardon when he said if we sacked everyone in Australia who ever swore at work, no one would be employed, which I think is probably a fair shake of the sauce bottle, to use another piece of the Australian vernacular.
The old master foods. Well, look, yes, but surely there is a line, right? Surely there is a line.
Well, when it comes to the service industry, I think a distinction needs to be drawn between what you allow to be said to customers and clients and what you allow to be said between colleagues. Now, obviously, there is potentially the potential for a different standard in either of those cases. You obviously want your customers and your clients to have the best possible experience, and the last thing you want is for them to be subjected to unjustified cursing. Whereas if we're talking to colleagues who have a friendly relationship, maybe a bit of cursing at each other in jocularity is permissible.
Look, I'm not sure we necessarily agree on that point. I think it's up to the employer to set the expectations. And there is this level of reasonableness at play. So, as I said right at the outset, context really is key here. So if there's been and quite often you'll see it with cases that consider swearing, whether there's been a culture of swearing in the workplace, whether there's been some level of acceptance. And in most workplaces, there is some level of acceptance. So I think if an employer, particularly in the service industry, was to have a policy where absolutely no swearing in front of customers, anywhere near customers, then I think we're likely to see that particular policy being more reasonable than in a workplace like a professional environment or a mine site or construction site where there's not always going to be direct client access, and there might be a little bit of flexibility to the ability to casually swear.
And certainly we have seen cases where the most common breacher of any policy against swearing is the person who's called upon to enforce it. I'm sure we've heard many stories in our line of work of senior partners who have a habit of swearing at their colleagues, but that is neither here nor there for now, at least for the purposes of our members.
The question is, if you don't have any policies in place and you've got a sales assistant or anyone, assistant manager, and they stub their toe or they're walking down an aisle and they swear.
Well, that's justifiable.
What options are available to you? You think that's justifiable?
Well, look, as you say, context is king.
Yeah.
Going up to someone and calmly and rationally spewing out a plethora of curse words at them is probably a slightly different context than an instinctive reaction to sudden, sharp physical pain.
Right, sure. No, I agree with you on that point. But the question I asked was, if that was to happen, would that give rise, do you think, to potential disciplinary action?
Well, again, depending on the context. might warrant a circumstance where the employer says, try not to do that again. If we're talking a case where someone has hurt themselves and the swearing is a reaction to that, I don't think you'd want to jump straight to a first and final warning or dismissal.
No, of course not.
It would be worth mentioning,
Yeah.
saying, by the way, just remember, please make sure you don't do that, especially in front of customers. But I don't think we would want to be encouraging people to take a prescriptive approach in those circumstances.
Yeah, no, look, I think that's probably a sensible way to proceed, because you do need that flexibility when you're enforcing any policy about swearing, because you just don't know the circumstances 100% of the time. And I think this became really, really important recently, when there was a case involving a pelican feeder that you looked into.
Oh yes, my favourite, the pelican feeding case. Well, not necessarily. That one was more a question of, does it make a difference if one employee says, that's stupid, and the other one says, right back at them, or don't be such an effing idiot. Now, in that case, the question was, does it make a difference that the second employee said effing rather than
Does it?
Well, the commission said no. It's a matter of, what would the person hearing that conversation understand effing to mean? It's quite clear that it means simply using a euphemism to cover it up doesn't alter the fact that the person hearing it understands it in that sense.
Well, what about going back to Alf? Is flaming okay? Is that okay for TV? These are the questions that Australia wants to know the answer to.
Well, I'm afraid I can't answer for Australia. Certainly the Media Standards Committee has decided that that is appropriate for Australian TV in the pre-watershed time slot. Not entirely sure I agree, but that's a matter for them. But certainly, if it were, going back to my original question, if right here, right now, I called you a
yes,
am I in trouble?
I would say so, yes, because it's directed at me personally as opposed to casual conversation. Again, context is king. You know, if you were to simply stub your toe on the corner of your desk and let out an expletive, then we wouldn't be having this conversation. But if to the world you're calling your colleague, some quite offensive things, we're absolutely going to have some issues. Absolutely.
Yes, but dealing with you is quite like stubbing my toe.
It's just me. Thanks for watching Legal Beagles. Join us next time, where there's about a 50% chance that Alex will still be with the company.